It's often thought that Leander, using this stretch of water all the year, they have some sort of unfair advantage. But in fact, of course, we normally row on the other side of the river when the booms aren't here, and not up this side, not on the Berkshire side.
Interesting.
The course changed direction on Monday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I see, okay.
And it is actually a bit confusing for most of us. I boat from Upper Thames and have the same problem. But yes, Leander sweeping away there, very well locked on, very cohesive.
I wonder if we'll see this Leander Club crew trying their luck at the Town Challenge Cup at the Royal Regatta in a couple of weeks' time. I imagine we probably will. A pretty sharp, cohesive unit so far.
Yes, that's another little regatta on the stretch. 3 abreast. A lot of the booms have gone, of course, at that time. There are boys just cutting or separating the powered rivercraft from the races. But I'm sure that there will certainly be some of the Leander crews in evidence there. We've been very fortunate in this part of the world. We had the 3rd stage of the Women's Cycling Tour of Britain setting off from Henley, seeing athletes in a different sport entirely.
Which must have been peculiar for Henley residents.
Yeah. Yes, but to actually see the start was quite impressive, because if any of you have ever watched any of the tours, if you're halfway along the course, the peloton comes through so quickly that you hardly get to see anybody.
Yeah.
Whereas at the start, all the individuals rather, all the teams were presented. Perhaps we should do that in rowing.
Well, Henley, absolutely a hotbed for sporting prowess, and rowing certainly its flagship, or its flag bearer, I suppose. Leander, perhaps the most pertinent example of a world-class performance programme, just rowing really, really smoothly, it has to be said. I mean, you could wax lyrical about Leander all day long. They have provided more athletes for the senior GB team than any other club, and it's in evidence why they have a fantastic coaching programme and lots of local support behind them, which drives their athletes on every year. They've got a development squad which feeds directly into the senior team, and I'm sure several of these girls will have one eye on that. So as we watch Leander make their way down ahead of the Combined Services Rowing Club, we can move back up to the start. Race 52 now underway, the last heat of Championship Coxless Fours, and it is contested between the University of Tulsa of the USA on the Berkshire station and Marlow Rowing Club B on the Buckinghamshire station. Just flying out underneath the looming shadows of Temple Island there, Marlow, and nice to see the crews staying far apart from each other. Oh, Tulsa having a little bit of a problem with their steering.
Yes, at this point Tulsa decided they didn't want to hit that first post and have opted to go down the centre of the course.
Probably sensible.
They'll need to correct shortly.
Oh, and Marlow staying very close to their booms as well. They do have the people who steer these boats must have nerves of steel, because I don't have the gall to stay that close in that close proximity to booms. But Marlow moving away a little bit, and Tulsa, obviously that early steering error hasn't affected them too much, because they've got about a length on Marlow at this stage.
Yes, they're just being warned by the umpire as we speak. He's putting his flag out towards the Berkshire station and directing the Tulsa crew, or anybody who happens to be looking at the umpire and the Tulsa crew, which sometimes in the heat of the battle can get missed.
Absolutely. Yeah, this Tulsa crew, actually a lot of pedigree on board. All 4 of these women rowed in the Varsity 8 that finished 3rd at the American Conference Championships in May of this year. Julia Harrell and Ellie have both recently graduated Tulsa, Julie earning an undergrad degree in finance and Ellie earning a master's degree in athletic training. Helen and Ellie on board are actually both from the UK and have raced at Henley Women's before for Nottingham or rather Agecroft and the University of Nottingham respectively, so they'll know this course. They'll also know what it's like to race against domestic opposition, and showing that experience and class here as they lead by probably 2.5 lengths.
Once again using a Hudson boat, very fine craft.
I think it's always, for those elite crews, a bit of a toss-up between Hudson, Felipe, Mpacker, and it comes down to preference. I can't imagine there's too much to choose between the differentials on sort of fine racing craft like that.
Yeah, indeed, they're slightly varying in the hull shape, but It's never been proved that one is significantly faster than the other. Well, Marlow is sticking to it, but they just don't quite have the horsepower that the Tulsa crew does.
So just a brief reminder of what's to come. You are at the moment watching race 52, the University of Tulsa in the lead ahead of Marlow B. We've got heats of the aspirational academic coxless fours coming up, 4 of those before we move over to championship lightweight single sculls, and then we move back into the pattern of academic aspirational coxless fours again. So plenty more racing running right up until I think about 6:45 this evening. Then we'll have a few time trials to round off the day, but a full 2 days of racing to come, with semi-finals, quarter-finals, and indeed the all-important finals starting on Sunday. And I imagine the University of Tulsa will have probably one eye on the latter stages of this competition. But they're moving through and looking like they're going to cross the line ahead of Marlow, so we move back up to the start for race 53, the University of Glasgow up against Surbiton High School.
So Surbiton on the Buckinghamshire station, fairly close to the booms. Glasgow have just been warned by the umpire because they have decided to take the centre of the course and have just over a length's lead, but their puddles are washing down the Surbiton High School crew.
This is of course always a bit of a toss-up for crews coming off the start. Is how far do you push that steering? Do you try to stick to your line, or do you try to gain that slight advantage that you might get from steering slightly more down the middle of the course, just to try and put your crew off slightly, as your opposition crew, I apologise, as you come up to the end of Temple Island.
The Surbiton High School from Surrey, finding it a little bit difficult in this particular race. They've steered a good line, but they just don't have the power of the Glasgow University crew. Almost certainly a matter of age and maturity.
Indeed, yes. The high school crew obviously coming in, looking incredibly strong against Glasgow University. As we come past the commentary box now, we see a bit of water opening up between the two crews. And now it's all down to the battle of the psyche. Has the leading crew got the mental capacity to hold on and keep pushing? But more importantly is the question, has Surbiton High School got that mental capacity just to keep pushing, even when that opposition crew seems so far away?
I'm sure that the girls in the Surbiton crew will be enjoying the occasion, and no doubt will, hopefully they carry on rowing, will no doubt use this as a stepping stone to improving as they to either go on to club or university as they get older.
Surbiton obviously with the very distinctive big S on their blades there. No shame in hiding what a powerful programme they come from. Really dominating in the junior field in recent years at events such as National Schools Regatta. But they are no match for Glasgow University, who just seem to be taking down the rate now as they've opened up a substantial lead, aiming just to conserve that bit of energy as we come into the last stages of this race.
Glasgow University will obviously do most of their training on the course at Strathclyde Park, which can be very wild and windy, as I know to my
It certainly can. We had the Scottish Championships not long ago up on the Strathclyde course, and on a beautiful summer's evening it can be picturesque and calm, and on a winter's morning it can be completely the opposite. Glasgow just coming in really tidily now, coming into the finish again, dropping that right down further. Really nice blade work, cutting a bit fine with the barriers. But back up to the start for the start of the next race. Race number 54.
Another Scottish crew, this time from St Andrews University, on the Buckinghamshire station, racing Sheffield University on the Berkshire station. So Sheffield, the crew nearer you, nearer the camera.
Hold on 2 seconds.
So back on the course now with Sheffield University against the University of St Andrews. Two university crews here, both of which have strong programmes, neither of which right at the top of the league tables as it were for rowing, but a very equally matched pair as we see as they come down the course now.
It's St Andrews who are holding on to a length or so lead. The umpire just had his flag up, but was warning Sheffield to come back over onto the Berkshire station.
Some tight steering there, but just corrected just in time. Of course, as we said many times this afternoon, the Fours can be an incredibly difficult boat to steer, especially with the booms that we have at Henley. The majority of international racing with athletes of this calibre take place on 6-lane courses, marked only by a line of buoys, as you can see in the background of the picture. And if you hit a buoy in the middle of a race, usually it doesn't spell the end, but here at Henley it can absolutely spell out disaster for your crew and your chance of progressing to later rounds in this competition.
It was on this course in the 19th century that coxswain rowing first was developed. There was a particular coxswain called Fred Weatherly who jumped out of a coxed four, allowing his crew from Brasenose College to go on to win. Fred Weatherly was the author of the song Danny Boy, much loved.
There definitely is a much loved song. You can see even these little stories that I'm far too young to know anything about. It really does add a completely different element to racing at both Henley Women's and Henley Royal Regatta. The Henley events famed for their history and their impact on the rowing community as a whole. Dynasties are created and broken at Henley Royal Regatta, and indeed in more recent years at Henley Women's Regatta, which is absolutely fantastic to see.
A little bit of interesting steering from both crews, but neither one in real danger of a catastrophic end to their race.
Definitely not, no. University of St Andrews, by the looks of it, just stretching out to a slightly more comfortable lead over their opposition as they enter the last stages of their race. And I think in a minute we'll go back up to the start. We'll see the start of the next race between two other universities, Nottingham University and the University of Exeter. And just off the start there we see the two crews coming off. Nottingham University closest to yourself, and the University of Exeter furthest away in the shadows of Temple Island. Both crews looking quite tight as they come off the start. Nottingham, plenty of splash on those blades, plenty of power going down as we just exit the stretch of Temple Island that dominates the start of this race at Henley Women's Regatta.
It's always a relief to get to the end of the island. We feel that that's a big chunk of the stressful part of sitting on the start over. It's one of the worst feelings when you're waiting for the race to happen. Just sitting there, tension mounts until eventually both crews set off. Now here we have Nottingham beginning to take a lead over Exeter.
Yes, Nottingham University, very closely linked with the local Nottingham Rowing Club up in the region. Both very strong programmes they've got going, and as we see that is paying dividends there as they just start to dominate over their opposition, the University of Exeter, sitting on the Buckinghamshire station. A lovely drone shot they've got there. Both crews, you can see the blade work, you can see in the background just how smooth that water is this afternoon, I apologise. But that is very open to change, as we see on the Henley course all the time. A stray launch going past can spell disaster, especially for the smaller boats, but these four should have no issues, as we see from two very fine boats coming down the course.
The drone shot shows quite clearly how close to the edge of the river the course is at this point.
It is. It can be, if you're standing on the bank, it can be quite a weird feeling to look at the course and see it veer away from you in one direction and come towards you in the other. But standing on the start line, you see it is straight, and yeah, this drone shot demonstrates that really, really well. Just coming past the commentary position now, we can see Nottingham University stretching out probably to a good 2 lengths lead, I'd say, of their opposition from the University of Exeter, struggling to keep up with their opposition. Both crews looking quite happy in their lines, and both crews seem to have settled into their race pace, a slightly more relaxed rating than other crews that we've seen, but each to their own, I imagine.
Yeah. Yes, and obviously Nottingham will have had the advantage of rowing on the home Pierpont course in Nottingham. The advantage of that is that you don't have all these launches going up and down. So
it's definitely a good thing for them.
Yes.
Although, having said that, the course in Nottingham can get incredibly blustery. Of course, the course that's famed for being built the wrong way round accidentally, when someone left their plans upside down, and now crew upon crew come unstuck when they face that fierce headwind that can destroy so many races for so many crews.
And I just thought that was a rumour.
It might be a rumour. As far as I know, it was actually true. It had also with the Olympics and everything. It was a proper scandal going on up at Nottingham.
Yes. Yeah.
But a scandal that so far hasn't affected the way this crew is rowing down this course. Looking very composed, very relaxed, really are dominating against their opposition from the University of Exeter.
As you can see from the blade work, very cohesive.
It is
dropping in nicely the catch and a good leg drive.
It's nice to see. We can see that many of these girls have come through from the junior ranks in the local clubs, and as we said earlier, having those junior years really can make a difference in the way you row. You can see it especially in the younger scullers. That technique is ingrained in their brains from a very young age, and it carries them through even what should be a very stressful race for any race here at any of the Henley events, but it carries them through quite nicely. We travel back up to the start now for a race between the University of London and the University of Surrey, another aspirational academic for race number 56 this afternoon.
The University of London is gradually getting back into a dominant position in British rowing. The girls have been doing well for some years. I was at the university in the last century, and at that time we were what Brooks is now.